Welcome to class number 53, class 53, the death of Christ. Taken from Matthew 27, Mark 15, Luke 23, and John 19. Now, the death of the Lord on the cross was preceded by darkness that covered the earth. From the 6th hour, darkness was over the whole earth until the 9th hour. That is, according to our time, from noon until 3 p.m. It was not a solar eclipse, since there is always a full moon on the Passover, and a solar eclipse occurs only at a new moon. It was a miracle, testifying to the appalling tragedy, the death of the Son of God. This phenomenon was evidenced by the Roman astronomer Phlegon and the Greek historian Phallus. Saint Dionysius the Areopagite recalls it in his letters to the Apollophanes. This darkness stopped the mockery and ridicule of the crucified Lord, and the onlookers began to go home. So about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani." That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? It was necessary for the God-man to drink the cup of suffering to the bottom. This required that he did not feel the joy of his unity with God the Father. In Hebrew, Elijah is pronounced Eliagu. Some people, having heard only Eli, said, "This one is calling for Elijah." This was a mockery because since Elijah was expected to come before the Messiah, they wanted to say, he still thinks that he's the Messiah and calls for Elijah to help him. Then the Lord said, "I thirst." And one of the soldiers took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and putting it on a cane, gave him to drink, as it was foretold in Psalm 68, verse 22, or Psalm 69, verse 21 in some Bibles. They gave me gall for my food, and for my thirst they gave me vinegar to drink. Then Jesus said, "It is finished." The work of the Messiah, the redemption of the human race, was accomplished through his death. After that, the Lord exclaimed, "Father, into your hands I give my spirit." And he gave up the spirit. At this moment, the veil in the temple that separated the sanctuary from the Holy of Holies was torn in two parts, actually torn from the top, which was very high, to the bottom, not from the bottom up. This symbolized the opening of the kingdom of heaven to people. And the earth at the same time was shaken as a sign of God's wrath against those who put his beloved Son to death. From this earthquake, the rocks fell down, and the burial caves were opened as a sign of victory of the Lord over death. Many departed saints buried in those caves were resurrected. And after the resurrection of Christ, they appeared in Jerusalem to people who knew them. These signs had such a strong effect on the Roman centurion that he pronounced, "Truly, this is the Son of God." Tradition says that his name was Longinus. He became a Christian and a martyr for Christ. In order not to leave the bodies of the executed on the crosses for the Passover, the members of the Sanhedrin asked Pilate to kill them by crushing their legs. Without standing on their legs, the crucified could not breathe and died. The soldiers broke the shins of the two robbers, but seeing Jesus had already died, they did not touch him. One warrior pierced his ribs with a spear, and blood and water flowed out. Thus, two prophecies were fulfilled, that the Lord's legs would not be broken and that he would be pierced. In Exodus chapter 12, verse 46, the Easter lamb, symbolizing Christ, was to be eaten without breaking the bones. And in Zechariah 12:10, we read, "And I will pour on the house of David and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem the spirit of grace and supplication. Then they will look on me whom they have pierced." It is said about the final universal conversion of the Jews to Christ in Romans chapter 11, verses 25 and 26. Now we come to the burial of the Lord. Matthew 27, Mark 15, Luke 23, John 19. So the burial took place just before Friday evening. Joseph of Arimathea, a city near Jerusalem, a member of the Sanhedrin, but a pious man who did not participate in the condemnation of the Lord, came to Pilate and asked him for the body of Jesus for burial. According to the custom of the Romans, the bodies of the crucified remained on the crosses and were made prey for the birds, but the authorities allowed to bury them. Pilate checked through the centurion if Jesus had died and let the body be given to Joseph. Another pious member of the Sanhedrin, Nicodemus, mentioned in John chapter 3, verse 1 to 21, also came and brought the perfumes for anointing the body. Joseph brought a shroud, a long, valuable canvas. They took off the body from the cross, anointed it according to custom, and with incense at the same time wrapped it in a shroud and laid it in a new burial cave in the garden of Joseph, which was located near Golgotha. Since the sun was already sinking to the west, everything was done, although diligently, but very hastily. They rolled a stone against the door of the cave and left. And this was observed by the women who had previously been at Golgotha. They prepared incense and spices so that at the end of the Sabbath they could finish the anointing. Meanwhile, the chief priests and the Pharisees came to Pilate and asked him to give orders for the protection of the tomb until the third day. They told that the Lord had hinted at his resurrection on the third day, and that his disciples could steal his body to announce that he had risen, and this would be worse for them than the proclamation of Jesus as the Messiah. Pilate did not mind, saying that they could use the guard given at their disposal for the holidays to protect order. And the chief priests went to the cave and sealed the stone with their seal, and the warriors remained, the soldiers remained to guard it. That's the end of class 53. Thank you.